Joe with you here, Mavericks. Let's get into ThinkorSwim Lab. This time it's analyzing a current position. Strange, right? But you'd be surprised how often I get this question, so I figured I'd bust out a quick video to show you a couple of ways to do it. If you absolutely lose track of the trade itself, it's just kind of a nice way to be able to navigate it and find out where you're at and what you have. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown on where to look, how to gauge what you have and where you are at. Right? Because a lot of times it's okay, if that's fine, Joe, I found the position, now I'm looking at it. What does it mean? Well, it's a big part of it. Adding or subtracting positions. Yes, you can add hypothetical trades if you're trying to roll a diagonal spread or maybe sell another call against a stock position, rolling a covered call, things of that nature. Yep, I'll show you how to do that. It's actually pretty simple, but if you don't know where to look, it can be kind of confusing. So I'm going to give you my 2 cents on this. I don't work for ThinkorSwim. It's just what I've come up with and basically responding to the questions I get from the Maverick community, guys. So thanks for joining me. Let's jump into it. So as we jump into the software, the first thing we're going to do is get to the monitor tab because, hey, we got to have a position to analyze. And if I go to my activity and positions here at the top left, you can see that I've got a handful of positions. This is a great example because this is a demo account I use for teaching and coaching, and there is a lot of residual trades out here that we actually could use as examples. I'm going to jump down to Zoom here. Zoom is a diagonal put spread that I placed actually today because I want to show you a couple places you can look for the positions that you added when it comes to your net cost. Now, you guys, if you focus in on my Zoom trade here, you can see that it separates the options in +1, -1, what I bought, sold, days to expiration, trade price, my mark, which is trade price versus what it currently is going for, and the net change. That's all great. However, unless I'm doing plus minus across what I bought and sold, I can't get a net value without doing some math. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is cast your eyes up to filled orders. It's right here on today's activity. Now, folks, I'm going to make you please build the habit of once you get a position filled, write it down in a journal. You guys know how to journal. You guys, there's lots of different ways to journal. Just make sure you do it. If you do this, then what I'm going to teach you moving forward is irrelevant because you already have the numbers that you need to when it comes to referencing. If you don't, I'll show you how to find them. So over to the right side, you guys can see that I have my limit order at 3.88. That was where I got filled on the combo, the diagonal spread for Zoom or ZM in general. It's still a breakdown of what I bought and sold. That's great. Super awesome. Okay, so if you have that, this class doesn't matter. Now, if you're like me and you don't write it down, and not months, but days and weeks go by and you have no idea what you bought, you're going to have to go to something else. Now, folks, we are on activity positions on the monitor tab. This is today's transactions, but if the transaction wasn't today, we're going to need to go somewhere else, and that is account statements. Now, account statements is going to give you a whole bunch of stuff. It's going to give you all the stuff you've done over the last year or two, depending on where you want to go. You can see I've got it at 30 days back from today. This is kind of standard. We can change this any way we want. I've got a separate class for that. But you go to trade history. Now that I'm here, there's two separate things that I want to address. Order history and trade history. I've got a lot of traders that come to me and says, Joe, I've got my order history out, and it says I put an order out to buy this at X amount of dollars, and I adjusted it, and I can see where I adjusted it. I can see what I did. Order history. Trade history is where the transaction occurred. So let's start with order history. You guys can see that I placed this trade for this example down at the bottom here for $4.15 as a limit order. Now, ThinkorSwim is super easy going when it comes to its demo, and it will give you not only mid between bid and ask, but it might give you a little bit better. So I know my order did not execute at 415. But you can see that it was filled, right? It was filled. My price was at a limit order of 415, but that's not where I got filled. It just says that I was filled. This is my order history. Adjusting orders, increasing it, decreasing it, changing strike prices, all of the ins and outs that you do before the transaction occurs will be in order history. What I need you guys to go to is trade history. We're analyzing an existing trade, and trade history is what matters. You guys can see down here that I have the Zoom trade executed at $3.88. Now, I have that number. Make sure you write that number down if you haven't journaled it, or you should journal it. If not, let's take that number and go a little bit deeper. So now that we know what we transacted it for, we can go back to this, and you could see that if I was to do the math of trade price 77 cents, sold 465, do the math, it's going to be 388. Now what's awesome about that, let's jump into analyze. Now I have to analyze what we're looking at, which is ZM. And you can see that I actually have that put butterfly spread. Now, if you don't have this down here at the bottom locked, you can fix it any way you want. So right now I've got it locked at 388. If I unlock it, you can see it's at 414, 416. It's been moving around quite a bit. That's fine. You know how much you bought it for because you went to your transaction. You can go ahead and move that down to our price. What was it, 388? I'm just going to go ahead and click it. It's fun. We're having a good time. And lock it and leave it there. Now, if you leave it there, every time you go away from the screen, look at other trades, make other transactions, go back to ZM as a ticker symbol, boom, there it is. A couple things I'll add to this. I was looking at other stuff, stock options, so on and so forth. Just unclick them and make sure the only thing that's highlighted is your current position, and it will give you the risk graph for this current position. Now, since I have it locked in at the transactional cost of $3.88 and it's locked, you can see, for an awesome example, we are actually doing pretty good. The break-even point is this red line at injunction based on where it's currently at. The first price slice that we see is current price, and it's going to be moving, obviously, as I talk. But you can see that we are more in this area where I actually have a small gain, not only for today and its expiration. Well, I should say today and its expiration. Now I can price slice this. You guys know how to do that. Or excuse me, I should say lines plus expiration. I can do that 3 lines, 2 lines, 4 lines. There's another class on this. You can find out where you're at. That's great. The idea is to make sure that you find your price, you lock it in, and you let the risk graph just do the rest. If you forget, or if you come to this screen and you find that the price is unlocked, just change it to what you paid for it, keep it locked, and now we have a chart that we can analyze. We got price slices set to standard deviations. You can see that our break even is a little lower than we are currently, and you can go forward from there. So that's probably the easiest, best way that I can explain it. So let's go to something a little bit more difficult. I'm going to go back to the monitor tab, and I'm going to close the Zoom because that's the one that I built for this example. And let's go to something a little bit more muddled. I like the word muddled. I've got TNA. TNA, I've got 10 long calls, $50 long calls, which they appear to be. Take a look at the trade price. I paid $4.75 for these, and they're worth 3 cents. That's right, and they do expire this week. So this is something that they're worthless. However, below this line, I've got 1,000 shares short at $52, and it is worth substantially more than that. Now, when I take a look at this, I just have to go to charts, type in TNA, and let's take a look at what they have when we go to the Analyze tab. Now, in the Analyze tab, down here at the bottom, you guys can see that we have single as a single option price, and we have stock. Now, the long call that I had has expired, so I'm going to just deselect that. But it's giving us a risk graph. Let's go ahead and add this into it. I own 10 contracts of an option that's basically worthless, right? And I'm losing a lot of money, and you can see this risk graph. But taking a look at the price slices, I'm in a pretty good situation because I'm holding 1,000 shares short of the stock from an average cost basis of 52. Now, this is not the best trade. This is one that I just let go. It turned out that it flipped around and it actually worked for me because I let everything expire. The market fell apart. I'm net short. The calls are at max loss, but they have not exceeded the delta that I have in the straight shares short. So this is what I'm looking at, the price slices. Currently, the stock is just below the 40 level, and if it goes lower, I'm going to make more money. Now, one thing that's interesting, if let's say that I've got, a couple of days before this option expires, and I don't even care, I'm just going to let it go, I can deselect it, and now I'm left with that 45-degree straight stock line. So as long as I can put a stop on this, and this is where you can make adjustments to existing positions, I can analyze, well, here's one standard deviation over here on this slice. This is where I'm at. I could go back to the chart here if I wanted to, find some sort of a resistance level for as long as it doesn't get higher than this, that, or the other. I could put a stop there, go back to analyze, place my stop anywhere along here, and see what my risk and loss could be. To monitor, find the position that you have. Okay, here it is. Maybe if you did it in the recent day, it'll be right up here. If you didn't, go to account statements and go back to trade history. Not order history, trade. Where the transaction occurred, you'll find it here. If you don't, reference back up here. I've got 30 days back. You can pull this down. You can change it to any sort of date and area you want to see. All right, guys. Pretty basic. Maybe you knew it, but it's super helpful. I got a lot of questions on it. I figured I'd answer it. Thank you so much for joining me, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye, folks.